Chosen ones. There's a spiritual law that governs this universe that most people don't understand. When someone accumulates too many bad decisions against a chosen one, the cosmos itself intervenes to correct the imbalance. Psychological studies on cognitive dissonance show that the human mind can only hold contradictory beliefs for so long before reality forces a complete mental restructuring, and that moment of reckoning is happening right now for someone who made every wrong choice about you. At this very moment, the person who defended your enemy like a rabid guard dog is sitting in their car outside a coffee shop, hands trembling as they dial a number they swore they'd never call again. The individual they protected, justified and championed against you just revealed something so twisted, so calculated, so absolutely demonic, that their entire worldview is collapsing in real time. But here's the mystical truth they're about to discover. Every dumbass decision they made against you was actually orchestrated by divine intelligence to prepare you for this exact moment of complete vindication. This isn't just about someone finally seeing the truth. This is about the universe delivering justice with surgical precision, proving that when you accumulate too many bad choices against a chosen one, you don't just lose the argument, you lose your entire sense of reality. Like a house of cards built on quicksand, every lie they believed is about to come crashing down, and you're about to witness the most spectacular reversal of fortune in spiritual history. Let's rewind to where this all began, because the person calling you right now needs to understand exactly how they became a weapon in someone else's war against you. It started with them making their first catastrophic error in judgment. They believed that being loud meant being right, that emotional manipulation was genuine distress, and that your calm responses to chaos meant you didn't care enough to fight. You remember watching them fall for it in real time. You saw how they were being studied like a science project, how every insecurity, every trigger, every protective instinct they had was being cataloged and exploited. You watched someone identify their psychological vulnerabilities and craft the perfect sob story to turn them against you. What hurt most wasn't their betrayal. You're a chosen one, so you understand that people will disappoint you. What hurt was watching them throw away years of evidence about your character in favor of second-hand drama from someone who specialized in psychological manipulation. You had shown them your heart, your consistency, your integrity over years of relationship, and they chose to believe a stranger's tears over your track record. But you also understood something they didn't. They underestimated your spiritual protection. Every lie told about you contained the seeds of its own destruction. Every person recruited against you was destined to discover the truth and return with deeper respect for your character. Every attack launched was going to boomerang back with devastating force. While they were busy making decision after decision that supported chaos over peace, lies over truth, manipulation over authenticity, you were undergoing a spiritual metamorphosis that they couldn't see. Each betrayal wasn't breaking you, it was breaking you open. Each false accusation wasn't weakening you. It was forcing you to develop spiritual muscles you didn't know you had. You spent those dark months not plotting revenge or gathering ammunition to use against them later. Instead, you went deeper into your spiritual practice. You strengthened your connection to divine guidance. You developed the kind of unshakable self-knowledge that can only come from being tested by fire and refusing to compromise your integrity. The isolation they thought would destroy you actually connected you to source energy in ways you had never experienced before. When human support was stripped away, you discovered levels of divine protection and guidance that most people never access. You learned to trust your intuition, even when everyone around you was insisting you were wrong. Most importantly, you developed what every chosen one needs, the ability to see manipulation tactics as they're happening, the strength to maintain your truth when everyone else is lost in illusion, and the wisdom to transform attacks into opportunities for massive spiritual evolution. Now the voice on the other end of the phone is shaky, uncertain, nothing like the confident tone they used when they were busy defending your enemy and attacking your character. They're about to tell you something that's going to sound like the plot of a psychological thriller, but every word is going to be verified truth. Listen to how different they sound now. The righteous anger is gone. The certainty is replaced by confusion and horror. They're discovering that the person they defended was working with others to coordinate their stories. There were group chats they weren't included in. There were meetings they weren't invited to. There were strategies being discussed and plans being made that had nothing to do with protecting an innocent victim and everything to do with systematically destroying your reputation. They're realizing that you tried to warn them about all of this. You saw the manipulation happening, and attempted to protect them from becoming a victim themselves. But they chose to interpret your warnings as jealousy, your discernment as attack, your genuine concern as manipulation. You remember those conversations, when you tried to gently point out inconsistencies in the stories they were being told, when you shared your own experiences with this person that contradicted the victim narrative, when you begged them to slow down and consider the possibility that they were being played. As they continue talking, you can hear something breaking in their voice, not sadness, but the sound of a worldview collapsing in real time. They're telling you about finding evidence that proves every single thing you said about this situation was accurate. Every warning you gave was prophetic. Every concern you raised was valid. Every red flag you pointed out was a genuine threat. You weren't crazy. You weren't jealous. You weren't manipulative. You were the only person in this entire situation who was seeing clearly and speaking the truth. While everyone else was caught up in the emotional drama and manufactured crisis, you maintained your center and your discernment. The evidence they've discovered includes records of premeditation that make their blood run cold, screenshots of conversations where strategies for turning people against you were discussed, recordings where different versions of the same story were practiced, communications that reveal a level of calculation and malice that's almost incomprehensible to people who operate from genuine compassion. But the most chilling discovery is that you weren't just dealing with one predator. You were up against an entire network of individuals who specialized in identifying chosen ones and systematically destroying their influence within spiritual communities. They had studied you, profiled your relationships, mapped your support system, and launched a coordinated psychological attack designed to break your spirit and neutralize your effectiveness. The person on the phone is expecting you to be angry, hurt, devastated by the revelation of how thoroughly you were betrayed by people you trusted. They're prepared for you to demand apologies, explanations, or revenge against those who participated in the campaign against you. What they're not prepared for is the person you've become through this trial by fire. Your response is calm, measured, almost serene. You're not surprised by what they're telling you because you've been watching this entire situation unfold from a higher perspective since the beginning. You saw the manipulation tactics being used. You recognized the coordinated nature of the attacks. You understood that this level of organized deception could only come from people who had done this before. What's shocking them most is that you're not gloating over your vindication. You're not punishing them for their betrayal. You're not demanding elaborate displays of remorse or threatening to make them pay for their participation in the campaign against you. Instead, you're responding with a level of spiritual maturity that reveals just how much you've grown through this experience. You explained to them that their betrayal was actually a gift in disguise. It forced you to develop discernment that can't be taught through books or seminars, only through surviving actual spiritual warfare. It strengthened your connection to divine guidance by making it clear that human judgment is often compromised by ego, emotion, and agenda. It taught you to trust your intuition even when everyone around you is insisting you're wrong. As word spreads about what really happened, something you anticipated is occurring. Other victims are coming forward with their own stories. People who had similar experiences months or even years ago, but kept quiet because they thought no one would believe them. You knew this would happen because you understand how predators operate. You're never their first target, and you're definitely not going to be their last. Your vindication is triggering a domino effect throughout your entire social circle. People are going through old conversations, old text messages, old social media posts, and seeing everything through new eyes. Patterns are emerging that were invisible when they were emotionally invested in believing the false narrative about you. They're remembering things about you that they somehow forgot during the height of the campaign against you: your kindness, your integrity, your consistency, your willingness to help others even when it cost you something. They're contrasting your actual character with the monster they were convinced you had become, and the cognitive dissonance is forcing rapid and dramatic changes in how they perceive both you and themselves. You predicted this too. You knew that truth has a way of surfacing, that lies require constant energy to maintain while truth sustains itself. You understood that eventually, the manipulation tactics would become visible to people who were temporarily blinded by emotional manipulation and manufactured crisis. What started as one person's awakening to the truth has triggered a complete investigation into patterns of manipulation and spiritual predation. People are discovering sophisticated networks of individuals who specialize in identifying and neutralizing chosen ones who pose a threat to existing power structures within conscious communities. You weren't just surviving their attacks, you were studying them. Every manipulation tactic they used became intelligence you could share with others. Every psychological weapon they deployed became knowledge you could use to protect future targets. Every lie they told became evidence you could use to expose their methods. You turned their warfare against you into a masterclass in spiritual discernment. You documented everything not for revenge but for protection, yours and others who might face similar attacks. You understood that your experience could serve as a template for other chosen ones who encounter similar situations. The person who initially betrayed you is now witnessing this strategic thinking in action, and they're beginning to understand that you weren't just a victim who got lucky, you were a warrior who saw the bigger picture from the beginning. Your warnings weren't attempts to turn them against someone else, they were genuine attempts to protect them from becoming a victim themselves. As the full truth emerges and the deceptions are exposed for all to see, you're not responding the way people expect. You're not seeking revenge against those who wronged you. You're not demanding public apologies or attempting to humiliate the people who participated in the campaign against you. Instead, you're demonstrating something that separates chosen ones from ordinary people: the ability to transform attacks into opportunities for massive spiritual evolution. You understand that this entire experience served a divine purpose in your development. It forced you to develop unshakable self-knowledge, spiritual discernment that operates beyond human manipulation, and the kind of tested character that can handle the level of influence and responsibility you're being prepared to wield. Remember how you felt during the darkest moments of this ordeal. You knew somehow that you were being prepared for something bigger. You sensed that the attacks weren't random. They were designed to forge you into someone capable of handling greater spiritual authority and influence. Every person who betrayed you based on lies is now seeing you with completely new eyes. Where they once perceived someone who needed to be controlled or corrected, they now see someone who operates from a level of spiritual authority they're only beginning to understand. Where they once saw weakness or manipulation, they now recognize strength and authenticity that withstood the greatest possible test. Through surviving this coordinated attack with grace and wisdom, you've established yourself as a spiritual authority in ways that wouldn't have been possible through any other means. Your response to betrayal, your handling of false accusations, your maintenance of integrity under extreme pressure, all of this has demonstrated a level of spiritual maturity that commands respect. People who witnessed your grace under fire are coming to you for guidance about their own spiritual challenges. Your example of transforming attacks into opportunities for growth is inspiring others to approach their difficulties with similar wisdom and perspective. The person who betrayed you is one of many people who now see you as a teacher rather than a peer. They're asking for your guidance about developing discernment, understanding manipulation tactics, and protecting themselves from similar predatory behavior in the future. The person they once attacked has become their most trusted advisor. You're not surprised by this development because you understood from the beginning that this entire situation was preparing you for greater influence and responsibility. The attacks weren't random. They were designed by the universe to test and strengthen your character in preparation for the work you're meant to do. The revelation of truth has permanently altered the landscape of everyone's life in ways that extend far beyond this specific situation. Your former betrayer's entire approach to relationships, decision-making, and spiritual practice has been fundamentally transformed by the recognition of how easily they were manipulated. They're implementing new protocols for evaluating information, new standards for trusting people, new practices for maintaining spiritual discernment. The trauma of being used as a weapon against someone they cared about has created a level of vigilance that will protect them from similar manipulation attempts for the rest of their life. But you're seeing an even bigger picture unfold. The spiritual community as a whole is more aware of predatory behavior patterns, more skilled at recognizing manipulation tactics, more committed to verifying information before acting on it. Your situation has created a collective immunity to the type of psychological warfare that was used against you. Your complete vindication represents more than personal justice. It represents a victory for truth, authenticity, and spiritual integrity that will protect countless others from experiencing similar attacks. The person who made too many bad choices against you has become living proof that when you come for a chosen one with lies, the universe responds with truth so powerful it transforms everyone it touches. The dust is settling now, and the landscape of your life has been permanently transformed in your favor. The relationships that remain are stronger because they've been tested by fire. The people in your circle now understand the difference between authentic spiritual connection and manipulative emotional theater. The influence you wield has multiplied exponentially because everyone who witnessed this situation has seen what happens when someone tries to destroy a chosen one through deception. Your enemy's attempt to isolate you from your support system has backfired spectacularly. Instead of leaving you alone and vulnerable, their actions have created a network of people who are now fiercely protective of your energy and deeply invested in your success. They've witnessed firsthand the consequences of choosing lies over truth, and they're committed to ensuring nothing like this ever happens again. You're not celebrating anyone's downfall because chosen ones understand that everyone is fighting battles that others can't see. You recognize that the attacks against you came from places of deep spiritual poverty and profound disconnection from divine nature. You see the behavior as cries for help from people who have lost their way so completely that they can only feel powerful by attempting to diminish others. Your victory isn't just personal, it's serving a much larger purpose in the cosmic battle between truth and deception. Every time a chosen one successfully exposes a manipulation campaign, it makes it harder for similar attacks to succeed against other lightworkers. Your experience is creating a template that other spiritually awakened individuals can reference when they encounter similar situations. As this entire saga reaches its conclusion, the themes from the beginning return transformed by truth. The person who was shaking in their car before making that first phone call to you has become someone completely different through the process of discovering and confronting their participation in spiritual warfare. They understand now that their betrayal wasn't just wrong, it was a violation of cosmic law that carries consequences far beyond human judgment. You saw this transformation coming too. You knew that the truth would eventually surface, and that when it did, it would change everyone involved. You understood that your job wasn't to convince anyone of your innocence, it was to maintain your integrity while divine justice unfolded according to its own perfect timing. The network of people who were recruited to participate in the campaign against you have become immunized against similar manipulation attempts in the future. They've learned to recognize the warning signs, trust their intuition when something feels orchestrated rather than organic, and verify information independently rather than accepting dramatic stories at face value. The war that began with your enemies trying to destroy you has ended with you more powerful, more protected, and more purposeful than ever before. The very people who thought they were diminishing your influence have become living testimonies to your character and your spiritual authority. What's most remarkable about this entire situation is how perfectly you understood divine timing throughout the ordeal. While everyone else was caught up in the urgency of manufactured drama, you maintained a perspective that allowed you to see the bigger picture unfolding. You knew that rushing to defend yourself would only feed the chaos. You understood that the truth would surface when the time was right, not when human ego demanded it. Remember how frustrated people got with your calm responses. They wanted you to fight fire with fire, to engage in the drama, to prove your innocence through emotional displays that matched the intensity of the accusations. But you recognized that engaging at that level would only validate the false narrative that you were the problem. Your restraint wasn't weakness, it was mastery. You understood that chosen ones operate from a different frequency than those caught up in lower vibrational conflicts. You maintained your center while everyone else lost theirs. You stayed connected to divine guidance while others were swept away by emotional manipulation. The person calling you now is beginning to understand that your calm wasn't indifference, it was confidence in divine justice. You weren't ignoring the attacks, you were trusting a higher power to handle them in perfect timing. You weren't being passive, you were being strategic in ways that earthly wisdom couldn't comprehend. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention you know the walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule the land, to be heard, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand, these are the things that a people demand. And we hear you. The Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls, yes. Those who stand with us, who fuel this mission, they give us ammunition to fight the Archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more, and as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading guidance, insight and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor? That's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you, and it's bi-directional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now, let's get back to work. Throughout this entire ordeal, you experience something that most people never understand: the reality of divine protection operating in real time. Every arrow shot at you missed its mark. Every trap set for you became a trap for your enemies. Every lie told about you eventually exposed the character of the liar. You felt this protection. Even in your darkest moments, you sensed an invisible shield around your energy that prevented the attacks from truly penetrating your spirit. You might have felt hurt by the betrayal, disappointed by the deception, frustrated by the injustice, but your core remained untouchable. This wasn't luck or coincidence. This was your spiritual authority being recognized and protected by forces beyond human understanding. Your enemies were fighting not just against you, but against the divine power that flows through you. They were attempting to wage war against someone who had cosmic backup, and the universe doesn't appreciate threats against its chosen vessels. The person on the phone is learning about this protection in real time, as they describe how every attack launched against you has now boomeranged back to its source with devastating force. They're witnessing divine justice in action, and finally understanding why their campaign against you was doomed from the beginning. What's becoming clear to everyone involved is that you possessed a level of spiritual intelligence that allowed you to see through the deception from day one. While others were getting caught up in surface-level drama, you were reading energy, recognizing patterns, and understanding the deeper spiritual dynamics at play. You knew that the timing of the attacks wasn't random. You recognized that the intensity of the emotional manipulation was designed to override logical thinking. You understood that the coordination between different attackers revealed a level of planning that went far beyond spontaneous conflict. Your spiritual gifts didn't just help you survive the attacks, they helped you understand exactly what you were dealing with and why. You saw the spiritual poverty driving the need to destroy others. You recognized the fear-based consciousness that views other people's light as a threat to be eliminated. You understood that you were facing people who had disconnected so completely from their own divine nature that they could only feel powerful by attempting to diminish others. This understanding is what allowed you to respond with such grace and wisdom. You weren't just defending yourself against human attacks, you were maintaining your frequency while surrounded by lower vibrational energy. You were staying connected to love while being targeted by fear. You were embodying light while being attacked by those operating from darkness. Your vindication is creating ripple effects throughout your spiritual community that extend far beyond this individual situation. People are using your experience as a case study in how to maintain integrity under extreme pressure. They're learning from your example of how to transform attacks into opportunities for growth. Your response to betrayal has become a teaching tool that's helping others understand the difference between earthly justice and divine justice. You've shown them that chosen ones don't need to fight for vindication. They just need to maintain their truth while divine order unfolds according to its own perfect timing. The spiritual community is developing new protocols for handling similar situations based on your experience. They're learning to recognize the warning signs of organized manipulation campaigns. They're developing better discernment about when drama is organic versus when it's orchestrated. They're understanding the importance of verifying information independently rather than accepting emotional appeals at face value. Your example is teaching people that the highest response to spiritual warfare isn't counterattack. It's maintaining your frequency and trusting divine protection to handle the details. You've shown them that chosen ones have access to resources and protection that operate beyond human understanding. Through this experience, you've naturally evolved into a spiritual teacher in ways that wouldn't have been possible through any other means. Your insights about discernment, spiritual warfare, and divine protection carry weight, because they've been tested in real-world combat situations. People are coming to you not just for advice about handling manipulation, but for guidance about maintaining spiritual integrity under pressure. They want to understand how you stayed so centered while being attacked from multiple directions. They're curious about how you maintained your faith in divine justice when human justice seemed nowhere to be found. Your teaching isn't theoretical, It's practical wisdom earned through surviving actual spiritual combat. You can speak about the reality of energetic protection because you've experienced it. You can teach about the importance of spiritual discernment because you've seen what happens when people lack it. You can guide others about maintaining frequency under attack because you've mastered that skill yourself. The person who betrayed you is one of many who now seek your wisdom about spiritual matters. They recognize that you've achieved a level of spiritual maturity that they're still working toward. They understand that your responses throughout this ordeal revealed a depth of character and spiritual development that they hadn't recognized before. One of the most powerful aspects of your vindication is how it confirmed your prophetic abilities for everyone to see. You predicted exactly how this situation would unfold. You saw the truth about the people involved when everyone else was blinded by manipulation. You understood the spiritual dynamics at play when others were caught up in surface-level drama. Your warnings about certain individuals weren't jealousy or attack, they were prophetic insights that people refused to hear. Your concerns about specific situations weren't paranoia or control, they were accurate spiritual discernment that events later proved correct. Your predictions about how things would unfold weren't wishful thinking, they were divine downloads that manifested exactly as you foresaw. The person calling you is experiencing the shock of realizing that you were right about everything. Every concern you raised was valid. Every warning you gave was accurate. Every prediction you made has come to pass exactly as you described. They're confronting the reality that they dismissed genuine prophetic insight in favor of emotional manipulation and manufactured drama. This confirmation of your prophetic abilities is establishing your spiritual authority in ways that will benefit not just you but everyone in your community who needs guidance about navigating spiritual warfare and deception. People now understand that when you speak about spiritual matters, they need to listen carefully because your insights come from a source beyond ordinary human wisdom. Throughout this ordeal, you've experienced something that validates everything you've learned about energy work and spiritual protection. Your refined energy field actually repels lower vibrational attacks. The lies told about you couldn't stick because your frequency doesn't match deception. The manipulation tactics used against you couldn't penetrate because your energy field is calibrated to truth. You noticed this, how the attacks felt like they were bouncing off an invisible shield around your energy, how the false accusations felt hollow and powerless against the reality of your character, how the attempts to make you doubt yourself were neutralized by your strong connection to your authentic self. This protection wasn't something you had to create through effort. It was the natural result of years of spiritual development and commitment to truth. Your energy field had become so refined, so aligned with divine frequency, that lower vibrational attacks simply couldn't find purchase in your reality. The person on the phone is learning about this protection as they describe how every arrow shot at you has now returned to wound the archer. They're witnessing the law of spiritual cause and effect in action. What you send out returns to you, but what gets sent toward someone with divine protection returns to sender with compound interest. This experience has deepened your understanding of human psychology and spiritual development in ways that will serve you for the rest of your life. You've learned to distinguish between people who love you and people who love the idea of you. You've discovered the difference between those who support you when it's easy and those who stand by you when it's difficult. You've developed the ability to recognize manipulation tactics not just intellectually, but energetically. You can feel when someone is being authentic versus when they're performing a role designed to get a specific response. You can sense when conflict is organic versus when it's being orchestrated by someone with an agenda. Most importantly, you've learned to trust your intuition even when everyone around you is insisting you're wrong. You've discovered that your spiritual senses are more reliable than human logic when it comes to reading people and situations. You've developed the confidence to stand alone in your truth when necessary, knowing that divine validation will come in perfect timing. One of the most profound gifts of this experience has been the clarity it's brought about your life purpose and spiritual mission. The intensity of the opposition you faced was directly proportional to the threat you posed to systems of deception and manipulation. You weren't attacked randomly. You were targeted because your light threatens darkness. You understand now that your purpose involves more than just personal spiritual development. You're here to expose deception, to teach discernment, to demonstrate what authentic spiritual authority looks like in action. The attacks against you were attempts to prevent you from stepping fully into this role, but the attempts to stop you have only accelerated your development and clarified your mission. You've been forced to develop the exact skills and knowledge you need to help others navigate similar challenges. You've been tested in ways that have proven your character and established your credibility as a spiritual teacher and guide. Your enemies thought they were derailing your purpose, but they were actually preparing you for it. Every attack strengthened your character. Every betrayal deepened your wisdom. Every lie exposed about you established your reputation for truth. The very people who tried to stop you have become unwitting participants in your preparation for greater service. Your complete vindication is creating changes that extend far beyond your personal circle. Other chosen ones who have faced similar attacks are finding courage through your example. Spiritual communities are developing better protocols for handling manipulation and deception. People are learning to recognize and resist psychological warfare tactics. Your experience has become a template that others can reference when they encounter similar situations. You've proven that it's possible to maintain integrity under extreme pressure, to transform attacks into opportunities for growth, to trust divine timing even when human urgency demands immediate action. The spiritual community is stronger because of what you've endured and how you've handled it. Your example has raised the standard for how chosen ones respond to spiritual warfare. You've shown that it's possible to be both spiritually evolved and strategically intelligent, both compassionate and discerning, both loving and protected. Your story is spreading beyond your immediate community, inspiring others who are facing their own battles with deception and manipulation. You've become a symbol of what's possible when someone refuses to compromise their integrity regardless of the cost. The dust is settling now, and the landscape of your life has been permanently transformed in your favor. The relationships that remain are stronger because they've been tested by fire. The people in your circle now understand the difference between authentic spiritual connection and manipulative emotional theater. The influence you wield has multiplied exponentially, because everyone who witnessed this situation has seen what happens when someone tries to destroy a chosen one through deception. Your spiritual authority is now unquestionable, because it's been proven under the most challenging circumstances possible. People trust your discernment because they've seen how accurate it was when tested. They respect your wisdom because they've witnessed how you maintained your truth when everyone else was lost in illusion. You're not the same person who entered this battle. You've emerged stronger, wiser, more powerful, and more purposeful. Your enemy's attempt to diminish you has resulted in your expansion into a level of spiritual authority and influence they never imagined possible. The person who made too many bad choices against you has become living proof that when you come for a chosen one with lies, the universe responds with truth so powerful it transforms everyone it touches. Your complete vindication represents more than personal justice. It represents divine order being restored and light triumphing over darkness in the most spectacular way possible. Welcome to your new reality, chosen one. The view from complete victory is absolutely extraordinary, and you earned every moment of this vindication through your unwavering commitment to truth, integrity, and spiritual evolution. Your enemies became your witnesses, your attacks became your armor, and your betrayal became your breakthrough into a level of power and purpose they never imagined possible.